updating the calendar. So yeah, we will be discussing both of those. I think we've still got a few minutes before everybody gets in.
And I'm going to go with my face on the screen.
All right. And I'll go ahead and apologize in advance for the display might look a little large, a little bigger than what you're used to. I'm doing a desktop share from a pretty large monitor. So for example, the Our Islands, Our Clubs page is going to look a little disproportionate, but that's only because of me. Most of you will end up seeing the website in a window that looks more like this. But I'm blowing myself up to full screen just for the sake of the webinar.
Hey, Marshall, let me know my speaker is a problem for you.
I'm getting a bit of a time delay echo, but other than that, I don't think we're feeding back or anything. I think we'll be fine. All righty.
Can you hear me?
Who is this?
Yeah. This is Marcia from Rotary Club of Hilo.
Hey, Marcia. Yep, I can hear you.
I cannot seem to get this to launch video-wise, so shall I just listen in? Or it says you're recording it. Is it going to be available later?
It's not 3 o'clock yet.
Naomi, I think you're the one who's recording this right now, correct?
Yeah, well, Zoom is recording it, yes, to the cloud. So we'll have it available later.
So we will have it available later. As far as video is concerned, are you able to see my desktop? It should have the
No, I can see nothing. Here's what I got. I got Zoom installer. So then I go continue and continue, and then I'm nowhere.
Okay, it sounds like it's asking you to install the Zoom app so that you're able to access this, but you're accessing it now, so, Naomi?
Well, I called in. In, but I cannot seem to get this to come up on my computer. But if you're recording it for later, where I can just join in and watch it, then
who
that would be good. But meanwhile, I can listen in for a bit.
Who's this?
Okay. Lynette.
Oh, hi, Lynette.
That was Marcia from Hilo speaking.
Marcia from Hilo.
So is there another icon that has a Zoom that you may need to go to another icon on your desktop?
Okay. I've downloaded it twice, it would seem, here.
And sometimes it takes a while, but sometimes there are two icons.
Okay, so I have these two, they look like a box, an open box. The package will run a program to determine if the software can be installed. Continue. And then introduction, blah, blah, blah. And okay, now Zoom is trying to do something.
Well, anyway, we'll be recording. We'll send the link out later.
Marcia, in that little box, does it have the name Zoom to click on? There's a second
Well, it seems to be trying to do something right now. Is this going to have two-way video, or am I just watching a video?
You'll be just watching. All the video is going to be from, I'm doing a desktop share right now, so you can see my computer screen, and that's going to be pretty much all of the video component of this.
Okay, so now I've gotten to join a meeting.
Okay.
And
Do you have the link information?
is that the
It should be in the email.
HTTPS? Yeah. So is that what I need to put there?
There should be a 9-digit code.
Oh, it's the 9-digit code you want. Okay. 6252 510. Okay. Geez. This meeting ID is not valid. Please check and try again. Maybe I wasn't supposed to put spaces in it. Okay, join a meeting.
Naomi, do you have the access code in front of you?
Marcia?
Yeah.
Okay, so put in this code.
Well,
556.
wait, right now it's trying to do something. Oh, looks like I'm here.
At Maui and Lanai.
Right.
Okay, then you're
All right, great.
Yay! It just took longer than I expect. You know, you click on stuff and you expect stuff to zip right in front of you.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
should we go ahead and get started then?
Sure, why not?
Sounds wonderful. Thank you, Marshall.
Sure thing. And Naomi, you still there?
Who, me?
Naomi?
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay.
Naomi.
Okay. And I'm not really sure how many attendees we've got now, but I'm going to. Oh, great! So I'll go ahead and assume that that's. I'll go ahead and assume that that's pretty much everyone. And like I said, Naomi is recording this meeting as well, and so after we're done, a video recording of this will be available if anyone needs to refresh themselves. I also have a general outline that I'm going to be using, and I'm going to save that and email it to Naomi and Wen and have them distribute it as necessary, just because some of these step-by-step things I'll be going through are on that outline as well. Okay, so the general purpose of this today is I'm speaking to the assistant governors who are being tasked with keeping the neighbor island pages up to date on the District 5000 website. The idea behind these when we did the website redesign was to give each of the individual islands a place to sort of highlight two things specifically, news items and things that they've accomplished, and also any upcoming events. More things can sort of be rolled into that as you go along, but for right now, I'm going to be focusing mostly on those two pieces. I've been working with Naomi to get all this set up, and my understanding is that she has created sort of specific island assistant governor accounts that were built to be shared among the assistant governors to give you access, to give one account for all of you to have the necessary access to the district page. For purposes of this webinar, I am logged in right now as Maui AG, which you can see up there in the top bar. So I'm sort of using Maui as a guinea pig as I go through these, the Maui and Lanai neighbor island page as the guinea pig as I go through all of these things. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in with the first piece, which is updating news content on your neighbor island page. If any of you are familiar with the district homepage, the District 5000 homepage and the way it's built, we have areas here that are sort of highlights of news items. There's these sort of main ones up here and then another 3-column down here. Now, for purposes of how ClubRunner works, these 3 items that you see here, 1, 2, 3, and then also this charter school relocation and this TRF trustee Brenda Cressy, each one of those things is what's called a story. the way that, and that can get a little confusing, but the way that ClubRunner works is that those stories are news items or announcements, or they're basically little pieces of information that can be put kind of anywhere. The way that the homepage is built is to, grab specific news stories and put them in here. And if you were in the back end of ClubRunner, give me just a minute, I need to do something. The Zoom menu bar is kind of taking over the top of my desktop and keeping me from being able to switch tabs. So give me just a second. All right. Daggone it, did it again. All right.
So I currently post on our Rotary Club of Hilo website.
Okay.
Doing stories through whatever the web is. I don't know what.
Okay. Well, the Rotary Club, well, in that case, the Rotary Club of Hilo website is also using ClubRunner as its back end.
Okay, well then I'm familiar with that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was hoping that there would be some familiarity already for some people with how stories work, because that's a big portion of what we'll be going over today. I'm actually just going to go ahead and dive in. Let me get back to the Maui and Lanai page right quick. So right now, when I was putting these pages together, I sort of went through the library of stories that are already in the District 5000 ClubRunner backend and grabbed a handful of stories that I could tell were specific to that island. For example, Maui Rotarian Mark Harbison, recognized with Peace Award. The Share the Heart of Rotary one, I pulled in sort of as a test the other day to make sure the Maui AG account was working. But the idea here is that each of you will have the ability to add content to your pages about interesting things that have happened lately. And I'm going to go ahead and start doing the step-by-step now of how that's done. So actually, let me go ahead and log out real quick, and we'll just start from scratch entirely. So if you do a member login, and like I said, we're logging in as Maui AG right now. So we'll do that. And it takes you back to the same page you were at, but then you've got this member area link up here that we'll click on. And that should take you directly to your administration page. Now for the assistant governor accounts that were created for the District 5000 website, they're not full complete access. So you'll see a lot of these things are grayed out because you don't have access to them, but they've been granted enough access to take care of everything necessary for the neighbor island pages. And so where we're going to start here is site pages management, which will take you to this screen, and then it's custom page library. And like I said, after the webinar is over, I'll be sending around my outline that actually lists out all of these step-by-step. So if you're not catching all of them right now, don't worry about it. You'll still be getting step-by-step instructions in writing that will be easy to follow along with. So once you get into the custom page library, you'll see this big list of all the custom pages that are on the District 5000 website. Some of them are active, some of them are still drafts. But if you look way over here next to actions, if you're logged in with your assistant governor account, give me just a minute. If you're logged in with your your general blanket assistant governor account, only one of these should show up with this view edit properties thing here, and that's because you've been assigned as owner of this page. So for example, for the Our Islands, Our Clubs, Maui and Lanai, the owner of that one is Maui AG. That's who we're logged in as. So this is the one pretty much the only one I have access to under this account. And if I click on that, it'll take me over to the website designer page. This is sort of a drag and drop backend of all the pieces that are going together to build that Our Islands, Our Clubs, Maui and Lanai page. So I'm going to open another tab here real quick and just get that open so I can do sort of a comparison. For example, this whole big graphic here with the title and the Maui and Lanai photo that we're using is all just this thing in the banner full width area. But the area that we're talking about right now for updating news stories and everything is the main area down here where you'll see a widget, and widget's the word for these little blocks that you can drag and drop all over the place. The widget news and stories for Maui and Lanai. And so if we just hit the edit icon on that, it'll come back with this list of all of the stories that are currently being put into that block on the website. For Maui and Lanai, there are 2 stories right now, the Maui Rotary Mark Harbison one, the Share the Heart of Rotary one, which are the 2 you can see right here. This is where we would go to add stories from the story library. If, for example, there are some pre-existing stories that you know are already in the District 5000 website that you want to show up on the Neighbor Island page, on the Our Islands, Our Clubs page there, you can add them from here. And that's actually where you're going to go to create a news stories. Well, wait, no, let me back up. I just talked to Naomi about this a few minutes ago because it was confusing me as well. So make sure I've got this correct. From here, where you're going in to edit this, you'll see this sort of ribbon of go-to links. And there's one named Stories List Page. If you click on that, that's where you get the option to create a new story. And so I'm going to click on that create a new story button. And this is where I would go to create new content for the Our Islands, Our Clubs page that I'm working on. It's pretty straightforward. If these are built to work the same way that a word processor like Microsoft Word works, to give you options for formatting and fonts and centering content and everything. So you would want to make sure to include your title of the, so for example, we're going to create a new one, Maui Test Story 1. That'll be the title of this, and you would, of course, title it whatever you want. Don't worry about the permalink field. As soon as I click out, it will automatically generate one, and for all of your instances, that permalink is going to be fine. For the author, this will pull from the list of people in the district that is in the ClubRunner database. So if, for example, I wanted to say that I was Janet Sheffer, I can just type the first couple of name letters, and then she shows up. Today's date, there we go.
Marshall, can we, under author, can we use Maui AG?
You can, but it will show up as, and so then when the story actually gets published, it will show up as, here's the story, the author of the story is Maui AG. I'll leave that up to you all to decide if that's how you'd like to do it. But you can also list a specific author of this specific post if you want to as well.
Great.
And you have the option of listing or not listing that as well. So if I just wanted the title without any author listed, I would not check the display author. Same with the display date and the display social media share bar. And that's all your links to share this to Facebook, share this to Twitter, etc. That would show up at the bottom. And when you get into the actual content of your story, there are 2 places that you would be putting that. The story brief and the story content. So let's click back over to this real quick. If we look at the Share the Heart or Rotary one, these 2 lines that you see right here, those 2 lines are in the story brief, and that's the sort of summary or introduction to the story that shows up in that page above the read more link. So that if you've got something really long and you need just a sentence or 2 to introduce that story, this is where you would put it, is the story brief. And then is the story content, and I'm going to make this 3 paragraphs long. This is also where you can add images, format your text. I'm gonna center that one just for the heck of it to show what we're looking at here. And another thing to consider is enabling comments.
Add an image to that.
You want to go ahead and add an image to this?
Yes,
we can do
please.
that. All right. Let's look at it here. We're going to add an image with this link. That'll give you access to that'll just go into the your actual files. So I go to Rotary, branding. Actually, let's pull this one. Something that we put together for the Waikiki Rotary recently. Just add that right there.
And how do you resize that?
So click on this. If you right click on that, once you've got it in, there's an image properties that shows up. Now it'll give you the option to add information. Right now it's 800 by 450. You want to make sure that this lock stays on so that your picture doesn't get smooshed one way or the other. So if I wanted to make this half size, I'll put a 400 there. That becomes 225, and that's in pixels, by the way. I'm going to add photo. The alternative text. That's what shows up when you hover over an image with your cursor, and it's also if for some reason the image doesn't load, this will show up so that it tells you what the photo was. And I can align that either left or right, but I'll just leave that where it is right now. Okay. So that's the basics on creating a new story, just as far as like building all the content and everything. Entering any new comments? Nope. So you do probably want to go ahead and enable comments on this to enable discussion on an article. It will be locked down to just people who have ClubRunner access. So it's not going to open it up to just random comments from across the internet. That's how you end up getting spam. But let me go ahead and save this. Select where you want the story to appear. This is important. We want to make sure that these are all unclicked, because the way that ClubRunner is built is to encourage you to have stuff as soon as you write a story, go ahead and push it to the home page. Actually, yeah, it's this one. Go ahead and push it to the home page, which you're not going to want to do for the neighbor island stuff, since this is specific to the neighbor islands. Do go ahead and include it in the story list page, though, so that people do have access to it. If somewhere down the line, maybe somebody writes a really great story about something that happened on the neighbor island, and it would be really good for the homepage. As long as it shows up in the story list, we'll actually be able to see it. And so I'm going to hit confirm. Give that a second. All right, Maui Test Story is now a story that's in the story list. This hasn't been published anywhere on the website yet. It's just now available as a news item, as a piece of content that we can go and take and put in pretty much anywhere. So now that we've got that, we're going to hit this go back link to take us back to what we were originally doing, which is this, adding it to the home, adding it to our islands, our clubs page. If I just hit add stories from story library, this now shows up here. I can check that, hit add selected items. And I can also reorder these. So if the one I just added, I want to just have that be second instead of third. Stories are successfully added to the widget. That means it's done. We don't have to do anything else. And it should mean that if I go here and I refresh this page, it now shows up. Maui Test Story 1. This is the story brief. I'm going to click Read More. And I'm not sure why it's not all showing up there. Huh. I'm going to have to look into that for you guys. I have not, that's a bit of a weird bug that I was not expecting. It should show up as a full story that you can then read the entirety of. So let me look into that after this is finished. We're going to just go ahead and go back. Because the idea is that you can then click the read more and it'll give you the entire story for you to read. That goes ahead and covers the adding new content to your Our Islands, Our Clubs page. As far as like new news stories and everything, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the events calendar now, and we'll open up for questions and answers as soon as I'm done. This will just take a few minutes. I know I think I'm running a little behind schedule here, but as far as the events, you'll notice this looks a little different than the events look on the homepage for the district, and that's because unfortunately ClubRunner doesn't give us an option to have multiple different calendars. It's just basically the one general calendar. And we wanted to be able to give all of the islands an opportunity to have a very specific events calendar just for your Our Islands, Our Clubs page. So what I've done is embedded a Google Calendar in here, and several, if not all of you, should have gotten an invite. To a specific Google Calendar for your island. What that gives you the opportunity to do is publish events that will then show up in here. So I'm going to jump over real quick to my Google Calendar tab. And what you'll see over here, when you're logged in as yourself in Google Calendar, over in the sidebar, there's a list of my calendars. And now that you've been added, for example, if you were just added to Maui and Lanai, you should be seeing this one show up. And you can toggle on and off whether or not that shows up for you. But what we're talking about here is specifically creating an item specifically for that calendar, which is pretty straightforward. Like just click anywhere to add a new event. Test Maui event 2, since I already did a test 1 that's set for the 25th. I'm going to select more options so that I can add event details. So here, but the most important thing to remember is this little box right here, which gives you a drop down of all the different calendars that your account has been associated with. The one at the top is usually just going to be yours, and then any other calendar you're associated with. So I'm going to select Maui Lanai for this one. Said January 28th. Turn it off all day. We'll say 10 to 10:30. That's fine. Then details will go here and just hit save. That's now saved another event. So let's go over to Maui and Lanai, where before we just had the one test Maui event from earlier. If I refresh this page, it's now showing both of them. There's one for January 25th, one for January 28th. You can click that and get more details. And how the more details shows up will be different for everybody. If they have a Google account, they'll get this. If they don't have a Google account, they'll get a more plain web page just with the event details. But that there is to give you guys an opportunity to just do your own specific events in Google Calendar. And I think actually that brings me up to everything that I wanted to cover today. So I'd like to go ahead and open this up. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. One more real quick thing. And that is another additional piece that I just added to the Our Islands, Our Clubs pages the other day, which is underneath the events, you will see a quick links widget. And that isn't there for all of the pages yet, but it will be by the end of the day today. Like I said, this was something that was just added in. And you can choose whether or not to keep it, but we put it there just in case you had any quick links. For example, the example that Naomi had suggested was the Speakers Bureau. If you have a list of speakers specific to your island that you want to keep regularly updated, this is where you could put a link to that, even as just a PDF or a document. And so that shows up in your backend here with all these drag and drops as Maui quick links. You can just hit the edit link there and add new links and add new groups. You can have these grouped with a header above each group if you want. or you can just keep them all in one group and turn off the group name so it just shows a list. Entirely up to you. Alrighty. Do we have any questions?
Well, I have been listening just as a single club member.
Okay.
Because Randy asked me to sit in. I guess he's busy or something.
Okay.
So the individual island, it would be Randy. I'm afraid Randy's going to say, so Marcia, you're going to do this for me. But anyway, Randy would be the East Hawaii AG. He would be supposedly the one updating the East Hawaii page, right? So that would be, we have 5 clubs in East Hawaii. So we would have to have news from all of them. This is not about just our club, it's about all 5 clubs, right?
That's correct, Marcia. So when we initially started down this is when, by the way, is we initially started down this road, actually prior to July 1st of this year, we asked all of the assistant governors to reach out and find somebody who would be their public image assistant for the year. And that public image assistant was to work with them to, after we built these pages, to help them provide connections amongst the 5 clubs in your area, and also provide an opportunity for folks from different areas to find out what's going on in your area without having to hunt through every area, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he's probably going to reach out to you and say, Marcia, I need you to do this for me. You're absolutely right.
We're rolling into our Brewfest planning.
Oh,
it's
perfect.
already insane.
Yeah. And so probably every assistant governor in the different areas are going to reach out to somebody to help them do these kind of things. So thank you for that.
Well, I haven't volunteered yet. I'm a little over-volunteered now.
That actually does bring up a good point as far as like why we organize things the way that we did. We're aware that the district AGs will cycle in and out, and also the people who are being asked to handle their Our Islands, Our Clubs page are going to cycle in and out as well, which is why Naomi created a blanket account like Maui AG, for example, just for being able to edit the page. And it's also why we did the calendars the way that we did. If at any point someone needs to say, hey, I'm no longer doing the calendar, this is the person who's doing it now, here's their Gmail address, here's their Google account, it'll be very simple and very quick for us to just add them in as a person who can edit that particular calendar, and then they can take it from there. Were there any other questions from anybody about what we've covered?
Hey, Marshall, this is Lane. I have
Lane.
a couple questions.
Sure.
One is I tried to log in and follow along as the Oahu AG.
Okay.
Where you were trying to click, and I logged into our District 5000 page, went to member area, clicked on a website, and I don't have the option to do what you were doing.
Okay. That actually confused me earlier as well. And I can tell you, can you follow along with me real quick while I do this? The way you get into it, because I know what you're talking about, Lane. Usually you would click on website and go through like website designer or website content to make these changes. The accounts that we're talking about don't have that level of access. So the way that you get to it's a little different. We're going to start with if you go to admin and then administration. And this is the screen, when you first log in, this should have been the first screen that you saw. So if we start from here and we go to Site Pages Management, and then Custom Page Library, and then you should see Our Islands, Our Clubs, Oahu, and you should be able to click on that there.
Okay, yep, that did work. Okay.
That worked?
Yes.
Fantastic. And actually, thanks for bringing that up. I'm going to go ahead and amend my outline here to include, how to get to that admin page in case you're not on it. But yeah, those steps, I know it seems a little confusing and backwards, but that'll all be laid out in a document that you get after this.
Oh, good. And then the last question I have is probably more an administration question, probably for Win and Naomi, is once the events like leave us, because I can see this getting kind of like long and kind of overwhelming. Will someone be archiving those stories, or how does that work?
I believe you only can put 5 stories on the page. Is that right, Marshall?
I actually don't know. That's a good question. But
on the home
I would.
page, I'm sorry. On the home page, you can only do 5, so it'll cycle off. The older ones will cycle off automatically.
And if they don't, and I'm actually not sure because I think we might be talking about 2 different kinds of widgets, and that's sort of getting into the technical complex part. But I think the idea of part of what we would be asking people to do is, as you're adding new content to this news thing, you also have the option to and actually I'll go ahead and do this right now. This Maui test story I just did, I can check that. Then hit remove selected. Are you sure you want to remove it? Note that these stories will still be available within story library. So yeah, we're not actually deleting a story here. We're just removing it from this little widget here. So do that. Let's go back over here, refresh. And yeah, the Maui test story is gone now. So I think it will be part of the what's asked of the AGs who are handling these Our Islands, Our Clubs pages to keep fresh content up there and also cycle out older content as well.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marshall and Naomi. Great job, too. It looks great.
Sure, great.
What do you think there, Lane? Great.
I like how it's sectioned off by island, and it looks good how it's integrated with Google Calendar, too.
Yeah, I suspect there's a number of our Oahu assistant governors that did not log into this, or probably most of them did. But if there's questions, you're okay to help out with answering questions? Lane?
Lend a hand and help them out?
Yeah. Here, at least here on Oahu.
Yes, right, absolutely.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks for your questions, Lane. That actually did help, a couple of things that were definitely worth touching on there. Does anyone else have anything?
Thanks, Marshall.
Marshall, thank you.
Yeah,
Janet, thank you as well.
Yeah, I think Janet stepped out already, but if no one else has any questions, yes?
Naomi, did you, did I miss, did you cover the blog, the comments button?
Yes, we were talking about adding new stories specifically to make sure that the add comments box is checked when you're publishing that story.
Okay.
And you
so
can,
people, sorry.
Go ahead.
Only people who log in can see the comments, so it's not public.
Is it only people who log in that can see them, or only people that log in that can post them?
Both.
Oh, okay.
So if you're not logged in, you won't see it.
Okay. All right. I think that pretty much covers it then, unless there's anyone else with any other questions.
No.
We'll take that deafening silence as a no.
Deafening silence, right? Exactly.
All right then. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hang up then now. And like I said, there'll be a recording of this available after the fact, and I'll send around my outline as well, which will have some step-by-step instructions for a lot of the stuff that I covered.
Thank you to all those that joined in the webinar. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Naomi. I hope it was fruitful. I heard clapping. Hey!
Yeah, that was Brandon behind me clapping, who probably didn't think that anyone would be able to hear him. And he's apologized.
No worries, no worries. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, everybody.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.